The unconscious mind. In order to have an understanding of why we behave as we do, it is necessary to identify the formation and structure of the human psyche. One of the most important psychological approaches to understanding personality is based on the theorizing of the Austrian physician and psychologist Sigmund Freud, who founded what today is known as the psychodynamic approach, an approach to understanding human behavior that focuses on the role of the unconscious thoughts, feelings, and memories. Before Freud, the unconscious was just considered a recycle bin where memories were disposed of and forgotten. Freud, however, believed that all behaviors are predetermined by motivations that lie outside our awareness in the unconscious, which is the driving force of all our thoughts and behavior. Prior to Freud, people thought of mind in a rationalist sense, as René Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am." This perspective assumes that we are fully aware of and have control over the content of our mind. Freud challenged this notion, arguing that our conscious experience is just a small part of our mental reality. The majority of our mental life is submerged in the unconscious. Though concealed, it manifests in seemingly trivial actions and mistakes, revealing deeper psychological significance. He examines these topics in his book, The Psychopathology of Everyday Life. One of the most common phenomena Freud studied was the temporary forgetting of names. For instance, a patient mentioned an inn called the Hochwartner, which Freud initially denied based on his experience of 7 years in the area. Freud later had to admit that he had lived near this inn all along, whose existence he had so strongly denied. His denial was possibly influenced by the name's resemblance to that of a Vienna colleague who practiced the same specialty as his own. It touched his professional complex. The forgotten or distorted material becomes connected with an unconscious stream of thought or complex, commonly personal, family, or professional. To avoid the awakening of pain through memory is one of the motives of these disturbances. Next, Freud discussed forgetting order of words. A woman on idealizing lovers misquoted Keats' poem. Surprised at her many mistakes, she reflected on a painful past relationship. The discussion unconsciously triggered a disagreeable memory, which affected recall. The unconscious also reveals itself through mistakes in speech, also called parapraxis or Freudian slips. After an examination, a patient said he preferred to play right away rather than pay, revealing a slip of speech. Although he intended to pay immediately, he found he only had 4 paper dollars and promised to send a check for the remainder. Later, a bill for the balance was returned with a not found notice. Similarly, while writing a prescription for a financially stressed woman, she mistakenly asked not to receive big bills instead of pills. These errors illustrate how similar sounding or even contrasting words can lead to speech slips, revealing underlying contradictions or hidden feelings. It's a form of self-betrayal, similar to how truth is revealed under the influence of alcohol. Mistakes in reading and writing, like those in speech, reflect underlying psychological factors. For instance, a typesetter was imprisoned for accidentally typing Heil Hitler instead of Hail Hitler. This error revealed the typesetter's subconscious wish that may Lord heal Hitler of his madness. Freud observed that unintentional or faulty actions such as misplacing objects could also provide insight into the unconscious motives. For example, a man pressured by his wife to attend a social function he didn't want to go to accidentally locked his trunk with the key inside. The unintentional action revealed his unconscious desire to avoid the event. Similarly, a woman accidentally brought a gold medal from Rome, which was intended for her brother-in-law. Despite her intention to return the medal, it was soon misplaced so thoroughly that it could not be found or sent back. This absent-mindedness revealed her subconscious desire to keep the medal for herself. Chance and symptomatic actions, which we shall now discuss, such as fiddling with some object, moving leg, biting nails, or jingling coins, we execute them without thinking anything of them, by mere chance, or just to keep the hands busy. These playful and habitual tick movements conceal sense and meaning to which other expressions are denied. For instance, folded hands might indicate disinterest or insecurity. Lack of eye contact may signal guilt or deceit. Touching the face can reflect interest, and fidgeting may reveal nervousness. Freud's theory also challenged the notion of absolute free will, asserting that our choices and decisions are often driven by unconscious motives and hidden meanings. Freud also contrasted his approach with superstitious beliefs. While superstitious individuals attribute meaning to external chance events, he argued that the true explanation for seemingly random events lies within our own psychological processes rather than external omens. Next, we are going to talk about concealing memories. Freud noted that the earliest recollections of a person often seem to preserve the unimportant memories. The weighty and effective impressions of the childhood are mostly forgotten, even though they had a huge emotional impact and are a major cause of her neurosis. These memory lapses are not merely due to unreliable recall, but that they are frequently altered or repressed by later psychological developments. To summarize the book, Freud believed that nothing physically possessed is ever entirely lost or forgotten. It often occurs to avoid painful feelings or to suppress symbolic wishes and fantasies. However, our seemingly trivial mistakes and actions can reveal this suppressed material which, despite being pushed out of conscious awareness, still finds ways to express itself. In Freud's 1905 work, Jokes and Their Relation to the Unconscious, he introduced another gateway to the unconscious mind, the jokes. Jokes allow dark, morbid thoughts and taboo, controversial topics to surface in a socially acceptable way. The laughter serves as a release of psychological tension. In 1899, Freud's publication, The Interpretation of Dreams, introduced yet another doorway to the unconscious, the dreams. Although dreams are typically believed to be based on experiences and thoughts during the day, some dream material, however, cannot be immediately recognized as part of one's waking knowledge, indicating that dreams tap into recollections inaccessible to the conscious mind. For Freud, the dream is a temporary process of regression, from the conscious to the unconscious, from the present to past, from the level of language to pictorial and symbolic representations. Freud considered function of dream as the vicarious fulfillment of a repressed wish. Freud also described the process known as dream work, by which the unconscious mind alters the true meaning of a dream into something less disturbing. To explain this process, we are going to take one of Freud's very own dream called Irma's injection. Irma was Freud's actual patient whose condition wasn't improving under his treatment. He dreams about examining her at a party and discovered that her condition was due to a dirty syringe used by another doctor named Otto and a misdiagnosis by Dr. M. Let us now interpret the dream. The dream work involves two types of content. Manifest content is the content we remember upon waking, much like the screen of a movie. Latent content is the true psychological meaning of the dream hiding behind the projection. For example, in Freud's dream of Irma, the latent meaning was that he actually felt guilty upon his professional failure, allowing Freud to deflect responsibility and guilt, portraying himself as innocent. It represents unconscious desires and wishes which are often disturbing or socially unacceptable. The conscious mind therefore represses these elements which emerge in a disguised form after passing through a censor or filter which molds it so that the manifest content is morally acceptable, hidden, distorted, and unclear. Should this mechanism fail, the dreamer has a nightmare and awakens. The censor therefore does not permit latent content to find expression in the dream unless it is modified by means of four mechanisms. Firstly, condensation. It combines and compresses multiple ideas or figure into a single dream object or event even if they are contradictory. For example, in Freud's dream, figures of 3 different patients are fused into Irma, and Dr. M in the dream merges features of Dr. M himself and Freud's elder brother. Secondly, displacement. It shifts emotional significance from an object to a less important one. For instance, Freud's self-accusation of being careless is projected onto others. Thirdly, secondary elaboration. The dream may create a storyline with plot setting and a backdrop integrating various incidents and characters. Symbolization occurs when abstract thoughts are turned into visual images or symbols within the dream. Let us take a look at this bizarre manifest content, for example. As a critic, I might be tempted to judge this composition and its elements to be nonsensical. But if we interpret these images symbolically rather than literally, only then we would be able to find the latent meaning behind the dream. So how did Freud uncover the unconscious mind? Initially, Freud used hypnosis to explore the unconscious but found it inconsistent, providing only temporary relief and limited insight, leading Freud to develop a more effective therapeutic approach known as psychoanalysis. In psychoanalysis, the patient reclines on a couch while the therapist remains out of view. The technique emphasizes free association, where patients verbalize any thoughts, feelings, or images without self-censorship or judgment. Patients may experience moments of inhibition known as resistance. Over time, the patient learns to overcome his resistance and even to take pleasure in talking at random. Thoughts closer to the surface are more accessible and easier to address, while deeply repressed ideas resist emergence and can be particularly challenging to uncover. Freud's model evolved into a more complex one when he introduced his idea of unconscious as id, preconscious as superego, and conscious as ego. To know more of Freud's conceptualization of the psyche, watch the next video on structure of self. Thank you for watching, and if you find this video helpful, then do subscribe.